In this episode, we cover the corner. I did create that, and I did share the exact procedure that I use. We do a little benchwork assembly, as well as turnout assembly. Take a look at Lines West Cabooses.
As you can see all that detail, I did none of it.
And join Bob Rivard to go. We also check out what the Curmudgeon's gripe of the week is this week. Only in this episode of SOO The Milwaukee Road. Alright, now we've spent a lot of time looking at the southern end of the Hiawatha Elevator District, and I know a lot of people have asked, they said,
well, where are the power leads?
Have they been tied in?
Show us the servos.
None of that's been installed yet. So you did see some footage of some cars being moved in and out of the southern end. And that was because these particular tracks are tied into the northern end. The northern end does have power, so since it does have power, through the rail joiners themselves, that's the only way that I'm bringing power to that southern end, so not all tracks are live. The leads are all dropped, everything is ready, and when I do get to that point, we're definitely going to take a look at it. But first I want to look at this. This is temporary. This is our corner section. I'm mocking stuff up to kind of get a feel for what I want to have in this particular area. I did assemble another crossover. I originally hadn't anticipated it, but I was looking at the track plan and saw that there is one right in front of elevator T, so that's what we've installed. I did create that, and I did share the exact procedure that I use when I do install those. It takes a little fine tuning to get there, but it's well worth it in the end. What we've got in the temporary portion, none of this is screwed down. This is all just floating at the moment. I have boards underneath that are just temporarily holding it up. There's a post in the corner holding the back corner up. One thing I'm taking into consideration while doing all this mocking up, I'm trying to determine the positioning of this road. Normally this section of track, in the real life, it would have been going straight. So how do I approach this particular road and how it kind of comes into the play with the railroad itself? I'm considering right now sliding the elevator over just a little bit. And the reason being is that I don't want tracks that are going so far back that I'm having a guy reach. If you notice here, I do not have a track right up against the inside, or some guys refer to this as the belly track.
Get in my belly!
But this inside track allows a guy to lean into and knock a car over. I'm eliminating that reach. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to probably be ending the track somewhere in this vicinity. These things will be extended just a little bit further. But again, I'm trying to eliminate that reaching for guys to have to deal with. And as far as the buildings themselves, these are just mocked up pieces of PVC. I've just got printed out pieces of paper and made. This is the yard office, so it's just a mock-up of the yard office. I went out and photographed it in person, so I scaled it down to 1/87 scale. So I've got the exact size of that. It's just got a piece of foam that I've stuck it around. And it's just giving me an idea of what that's going to look like in its place. Now, on the southern end, we're going to look at the elevators and the installation and how I go about the PVC and all that stuff in a further episode here. But what we're looking at today is just firming this up. All right, it's time to do a few mental sit-ups.
Oh, I hate exercise.
The rail corridor that parallels Hiawatha Avenue is a key component to the city's development as flour milling and industrial center. After 1888, with the construction of the D.A. Martin elevator at 33rd Street and Hiawatha Avenue, the corridor began to develop a significant center of grain elevator as well as mill construction. Which of these was not serviced in the Hiawatha Elevator District? Was it A, the Atkinson Mill, B, Nokomis Mill, C, Elevator T, or was it D, Purity Oats?
All right, time to guess.
All right, this took a little bit of time to be able to assemble the benchwork to the corner section, but what we're doing here is ensuring that no turnouts are sitting in an area that if a servo or switch machine is being mounted underneath, that you've got a board running right where that track is going to be. So that's why this was just temporarily mocked up. It gave me an idea of where things were going to go, and as you can see here, it wasn't an overly time-consuming process to be able to kind of get this stuff in place, but it's a little bit tedious. One of the most important elements is making sure it's level. I've got it run in both directions to make sure that the height of the actual railroad has stayed level, because we don't want cars rolling around.
That's no good.
And we're not tying the north and south end together just yet, so I'm not screwing the portions that would connect the north and the south to the corner section. And the reason for that is, well, I still want to be able to flip these things over and install the servos as well as the power leads. So we'll see that in a future episode. All right, we're going to show you how we do this crossover, but first,
Cue the banjo music.
Step 1 on a Walthers turnout is to pop the jumpers free from the inside diverging rail. You'll pull both of those rails free. They'll be replaced by the outer rail you'll see here in a moment. You'll mark the ties that you want to remove, and then you take the ties and start cutting them free. One of the most important things to do in this process is just test fit, test. I always want to make sure I check my track spacing, either use a micro mark or an NMRA gauge. You can always use a ruler if you don't have either of those on hand. But as you can see here, we're testing this, making sure that the joints themselves will connect and go together nicely. You just don't want to cut away too much too soon, because once you do, well, then you're kind of
Up the creek without a paddle.
So I slowly ease this process in, and I can't stress that enough. You jump in too soon, you cut off too much, and the next thing you know, you're going,
Ow! This stinks.
Once we've determined our track spacing gauge and we like where it's at, we move on to step 7, and thanks to fellow modelers that mentioned Kester 186, this is the flux I'm using for soldering up those leads that we popped free earlier, and this just allows the DCC to be able to continue on without any issues. You apply the solder, you apply the heat, and away you go. You got yourself a joined up crossover that, well, doesn't have any rail joiners. Can't get any better than that. Alright, did you throw that metaphorical dart at the wall?
No, I threw a real dart.
Honey, why is there a dart in the wall?
I was taking a quiz.
Which of these elevators was not serviced in the Hiawatha Elevator District? Did you guess D, Purity Oats? If you did, you'd be correct. It was located off Broadway in central North Minneapolis. It was closed to be developed.
Time for a fun fact.
During my college years, I worked 2 summers at this location.
Sounds fun.
All right, here's a review that I've been waiting to do, and that's
The Lines West Milwaukee Road Thrall Caboose from the 1980s era with the blanked out windows and the non-standard Herald.
You're looking at a run of 1 of 50 that we're going to see the actual painted, finished, done version ready to drop on the railroad after you put a little bit of weight in it, and if you choose to do so, glue on that roof. But first we're going to take a look at an undeck version. Here's the undeck model. It's taken us about hour and a half, 2 hours to get it to where it's at right now. And the most time that was spent was actually bending these grabs. If you've never bent grabs before, or if you need to replace a caboose grab, here's a quick tip.
Here's a 10-second tip.
You can take a 3/8 inch piece of bar stock, you can use a dowel or ink pen, wrap your brass around the edge of it to get the curvature, because normally memory and wire will want to bend itself back.
So it'll have a better curvature like this here. This tight curvature and it relaxing gets it closer to this. Now they did have templates that came with these cabooses to give you the curvature. For this particular one, it's the one on the left. And if you ever wrap the wire around this, it's just going to expand out even further and just be a broad curve. So use the 3/8 inch diameter piece of bar stock or piece of wood and give yourself a nice even contour, and it'll relax itself to the nice curvature that you'll desire for a caboose grab. Now a few things about this particular piece. As detailed as it is, you got the top, which is the roof, the car body, the ends, and then the underside. And the underside is insanely detailed as well. As you can see all that detail, I did none of it. It's done, it's printed, it's finished, it's ready to go. You can even see the chains that are hanging there. The detail that is had is just unbelievable. I think Todd has done a phenomenal job getting these things together. For those Milwaukee Road modelers or somebody that wants to custom paint their own, this is a unique model, very prototypically accurate, and you're not going to find that anywhere else. So you can pick up this particular kit for about 60 bucks, and that'll be shipped to your door. So to have a caboose like this and a kit like this, you have the opportunity to have something unique. If I told you
You could have this caboose built for you, painted for you, decaled for you, and shipped to your door for around 100 bucks,
would you do it?
Yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Because I did.
And that's why that other one didn't get painted.
I ended up having this opportunity to purchase one of these, and as nice as this is, you're not messing around. Look at the roof detail, and you're telling me this whole thing is resin printed. I mean, aside from the roof walk, that's metal etched, but you saw the undeck there. This is to get this caboose to your door, 89 bucks plus shipping. It's insane. You don't get that type of detail. Now, is it perfect?
Should be for that kind of coin.
I'm going to bring you the SOO The Milwaukee Road Critical Eye.
Alright, cool cats. The cat's got your tongue. Well, the cat's out of the bag. This is the cat's meow. The cat's pajamas. The cat's
Here comes this cat's critical eye.
And it's minor. If I was grading this thing, I'd say it's 99% accurate. I mean, everything is just, I was really pleased with it. Didn't like how it rolled. It sticks a little bit. It's kind of got natural breaks. But also at the same time, I mean, it's nice that if you have a little bit of a grade, it's not going to roll away on you. The roof does still come off in case you want to, you're going to want to add weight, but in case you want to do an interior. So it's kind of nice that he doesn't glue that thing together and make you break this thing apart to be able to add the interior. I might add lights, I might do something a little bit more with it later. The other thing I didn't like about it was the actual couplers. The couplers are sagging a little bit low. We'll pop you off and let you take a look. As you can see there, the coupler hits. I need to obviously lift it up. I might use an upshift coupler to help alleviate that issue, but that was kind of a downside in terms of the caboose itself. The other thing I didn't like were the grabs themselves. Now the grabs themselves are 3D printed, so this is 3D printed all the way around. How clean are they? There's a little bit of a sprue on the edge of the one on the end, and we're really being picky at this point. And I don't know, that actually looks like it might be intentional, and it is. That just goes to show the detail. I thought those were sprues. That's not a sprue. That is actually the grab and the mount. Todd, kudos to you, man, because that, you had me fooled. That is how nice the detail is on these cabooses. You are talking about, you know, these little shields that are on here. He did provide end markers, so I will apply those. But wow, the only discredit I've got is the contour of these two grabs. I was a little bit, I'm being extremely anal and picky about that, but if I have a problem with it, I can take the grabs off of this one, the metal ones I bent. I'll cut those off and then put those on so I've got a nice smooth contour, because this thing, if you have a brass model, you're not going to find somebody that's going to be willing to paint up and decal an entire caboose for $100. And if you do, I don't know if you're going to get this quality. I'm really pleased with the way this thing turned out, and if I were you and you're looking to purchase a Thrall caboose or one that's unique, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Clearly you already did.
Here's SOO The Milwaukee Road's official product review with the checks and X's. While we review the review, we're taking a look at the Lines West Milwaukee Road Thrall Caboose. It is extremely accurate as colors are spot on. It screams Milwaukee Road. Things I didn't really care for, the side grabs are a little bit wonky, the couplers need a little help, and it didn't roll so great. But on a scale of 0 to 5, it gave it a 4.7 and it's considered certified fresh.
Rail fanning with Rivard to go. In the Hiawatha Elevator District.
Alright, we're back with these guys. In this particular clip, we're going to watch Hank go for a ride. Here's a fun hardware fact. If you ever look at the front end of a locomotive and see this little circular object, it's the F marker for the front of the locomotive. Here, it's a cast aluminum piece. Well, I hope everybody's been enjoying this vintage footage that Bob Rivard has provided at the Hiawatha Elevator District. It doesn't get any better than this for research from 1986. While these guys come to a stop, we're going to come to a stop as well, but we'll check out more in future episodes.
Alright, here's the Curmudgeon coming at you for the gripe of the week. This week it's talking about how fast your trains go. When you're talking about fast trains, I'm going to say right now, anybody that comes into the place and says, hey, how fast your train go? I say, how fast can you leave my house? Because as far as I'm concerned, this is a model railroad. This isn't a circus. This isn't the Addams Family. This isn't about, crashing them into one another. This is about enjoying the model railroad. If you only knew how much one of these locomotives cost, you wouldn't be running them into each other. You wouldn't be going 100 miles an hour. You'd be doing maybe 40 miles an hour scale speed. But that's the Curmudgeon's gripe of the week. It says, hey, how fast can your train go? I say, how fast can you leave my house?
A big thanks to everybody that watches to the end, that has hit like, hit subscribe, as well as made comments in the past. It's those actions that help share this content, so if you haven't checked out other episodes, feel free to do so. You can also check out the tour of the GN in 1970, as well as the past episodes of the GN in 1970.
70s.
It says, hey, how fast can your train go? I say, how fast can you leave my house?